again, but there's something I forgot to ask you.
It's okay, Lieutenant.
It's something about Professor Wilshire's got us stumped. She used to carry around our Phi Beta Kappa key on a chain.
That's true.
Everybody said you all about it? Well, we can't find that key anywhere. It was not in her body, not in her cabin, not in the ground outside, in her car, her house in town, or her office on campus. Do you have any idea where it might be?
Not an idea.
Nobody else does either. Oh well. Goodbye again. Socrates, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Ugly old geezer, but smart.
Oh, yes.
You know, it really boggles the mind. He's been dead for 2,500 years, yet he still packs a wallop.
Now she loses her Phi Beta Kappa key.
You don't suppose.
I do.
Well, let's go about this systematically. You search on this side of the room, and I'll look at this side of the room.
Okay.
Is this what you're looking for, maybe?
Where did you get that?
Whatever it might happen to be.
It's Professor Wilshire's Phi Beta Kappa key. You know, she used to always swing it around whenever she got excited.
Let me look at that more closely. It might be another one.
It is the same one, believe me.
How can you be so sure?
Because otherwise, why would it have been on the floor of Professor Wilshire's car?
But the police said they searched your car.
Oh yeah, but I got there first.
Melvin, dear. Melvin is right, isn't it?
It sure is nice of you to remember my name, Mrs. Lowenthal.
I wonder if you're thinking it through, if you realize there's just how much trouble you could be in for going through, telling people that you're going through Professor Wilshire's car before the police got there?
It's the truth.
I don't think so, dear. I think that you shouldn't be telling anybody.
Like who else besides Professor Lowenthal took her body out of that car and rolled her?
For God's sake, what were you doing there?
Don't you remember what I said to you on Friday? I said I'd go over your head about getting my grade changed in the course.
Over my head. The chairman of the department.
Her secretary said she went out to her cabin in the mountains. So I drove up there on my motorbike. I got there before you did, so I decided to take a look around.
But I didn't see any motorbike.
Oh, I parked it around in the back. The front door wasn't locked, so I guess she wasn't worried about burglars or anything, way up there in the middle of nowhere. So I went in to kind of see what it was like. I think you can tell a lot about people from the way they fix up their houses. Professor Wilshire's house was a mess. Papers and books piled up all over the floor, the same way she keeps her office.
Melvin!
Oh, I'm sorry, Professor. I didn't want to upset you or anything. Well, anyway, about 15 minutes later, I heard a car driving up. So, I looked out the kitchen window, and I got down real low so I wouldn't be seen. It was her MG.
Why didn't you want to be seen? I thought you came there to talk to her.
Sure, but the thing is, I had this glass of wine in my hands. I found this bottle of wine in her pantry. This real expensive French stuff.
Oh, so you thought you better put the bottle back and rinse out the glass before she got there.
I never did get around to it, though. The next thing I know, it was about 15 minutes later, I heard this car driving up. And you were driving. And so I heard the car driving up. And
What else did you see?
I saw you were driving the car, and then I went over to the rock to see over the edge, but it was too dark to see anything. So I I went to the car, and I saw on the floor that there was something shining. So I picked up, it was that chain and that key. So I picked it up, I put it in my pocket, and I decided to get the hell out of there.
And then you headed straight for the police station to tell them everything you saw.
You know I didn't do that, Mrs. Lowenthal. I went back to my room at the dorm.
Why didn't you go to the police?
I remembered something you once said to us in class.
Why is everybody hanging on my every word lately?
You said, ethical problems require careful thought. And since it seemed to me what we had there was definitely an ethical problem.
You've been spending the last 3 days thinking about it.
You bet. Very carefully.
And you've come here this morning to give us the fruits of all that careful thought.
I found out you were absolutely right, Professor Lowenthal. How tough it is to solve an ethical problem. But I think I finally cracked it. I think you're going to be proud of me.
Proud of you.
Like I can really show you how much I got out of your course.
You can.
What's been uppermost in my mind the past few days, Professor, was that class where you talked about friendship. The obligations that friends have towards one another. And it occurred to me, what we have is one of those perfect situations where, and opportunities, where we can do to each other one of those things that you said was the essence of true friendship. What I mean is, my half of the favor is, I won't tell the police what I saw up there at that cabin. And your half of the favor is, you won't fail me in the ethics course.
Melvin, you seem like a bright boy.
Gosh, thanks, Mrs. Lowenthal.
But I wonder if you're thinking this through quite deeply enough. Suppose you go to the police and you tell them your story. What chance is there that they'll believe you?
It's the truth.
A crime took place and you waited 3 days to report it. Don't you think that'll make them just a little suspicious?
I'll tell them I was in a temporary state of shock. I couldn't believe my own eyes. The professor, whom I respect so much.
Oh, everybody respects so much. It'd be your word against Henry's, wouldn't it? The word of a distinguished scholar, a beloved teacher, a man famous for his moral standards, against the word of a, excuse me, Melvin, but a odd-looking, screwed-up little rich kid from the big city. Which one of you do you think they'll believe?
Not me, I guess.
Especially when they find out that Henry just failed you in one of his classes. Everybody knows how vindictive a certain type of spoiled brat little student can be.
Wow, the way you put it, Mrs. Lowenthal, I don't stand a chance, do I?
Well, do you?
I guess not. Only, even if the police don't believe me, it wouldn't look good if they did absolutely no investigation, would it? Especially since I'd be able to give them a lot of details that never got mentioned in the newspapers. Like I'd be able to tell them what Professor Wilshire was wearing, where his car was parked, and what rock she rolled off of. And I'd be able to tell them about the bottle of wine on the kitchen table and the half-empty glass sitting right next to it. No! They'd at least have to check my story, wouldn't they? And once they started really nosing around, they might go down the road and find evidence that a car was waiting there a while. It didn't rain this weekend, and tire marks are pretty easy to trace, especially if you know the kind of type of tires you're looking for. And maybe, just maybe, if they look at your shoes or your cuffs or something, Professor, they might find pieces of dust or bits of rock or something that matches with stuff from around that cabin. In detective stories, that's the kind of clue they're always squinting at through microscopes. But the point is, they're not even looking in your direction right now. But once somebody makes an accusation, even if it is some odd-looking, screwed-up kid.
All right, all right.
Gosh, Professor, I'm sorry. I don't want to upset you or anything. But none of that is going to happen. Because I know the type of person you are. And how much you respect the bonds of friendship.
The grades for the class have already been posted. I dropped them in the registrar's box on Saturday.
That's no problem. You can dial the registrar up right now and tell him that you didn't make a mistake, that you don't want McMullen M to get an F after all. I'll dial the number if you want me to.
Oh, the registrar's office is closed this morning on account of the funeral service. They don't open till 2 o'clock.
Great. I'll come back at 2. And I know I can trust you not to call them up again at 3 and change my grade back to an F. Because even if I didn't find out about that until weeks after when my father got the transcript, I could still call the police from there and tell them what I saw.
How can we trust you, Melvin? If Henry changes your grade, what guarantees do we have that you'll keep your promise and not tell the police anyway?
I'd never do that. That would be a crummy thing to do.
And God forbid that we should ever accuse you of even a smidgen of crumminess.
Besides, once I get that passing grade, I won't have any reason to call the police. Like, that would be letting my father know that I really did fail the course. It would be like killing myself.
Some people have been known to do that.
Not me. I'm the type to threaten to commit suicide. I'm not the type that actually does it. I've got a lot of hang-ups, but none of my analysts ever told me that I had a death wish.
None of them? How many analysts have you patronized?
8! Or is it 10?
Never mind. Never mind.
Well, I sure am glad we had this talk, Professor, and we're able to come to a mutual understanding and all. I'll let you have your lunch now or whatever. I'll be back at 2.
Melvin, have you thought about the fact that Henry and I killed one person? We might not hesitate to kill another. Aren't you afraid that we might kill you?
Wow! You're really terrific, Mrs. Lumenthal. What a fantastic sense of humor. But everybody knows you wouldn't use violence on anybody.
But that's what you're going to tell them I did to Professor Wilshire.
That had to be some kind of freak accident. Nothing you actually would do in cool blood. Like, you're a couple of old people.
40 years I've been teaching, and I've yet to falsify a grade.
I know what you're feeling, dear, and to think the first time would be for that odious child. But if you don't do it, you know what will happen.
And if I do it,
Well, he'll tell the police.
let me ask you a question. You've listened to him. You've observed him. What kind of character do you think Melvin has?
Well, he's your quintessential undergraduate neurotic. Oh, narcissistic, total flight of reality. I've seen plenty of his type at the mental hospital.
Yes. And is he a dependable type? Can we trust him to keep his secret?
He'll say something eventually to his next psychiatrist.
Or the next girl that reminds him of his mother.
Oh, Henry, it's all over then.
Why over?
Well, isn't it obvious?
What a man could do once, a man can do again.
You're not.
Oh, you think I'm too old and decrepit? Well, you wait till he gets back here this afternoon. I've got it all figured out.
But what about your principles? Everything you stood for?
You've relieved me of all that. You've proved to me that my principles depend on my survival.